Well, hello friend, and welcome to another episode of Van Life Living in the Ark. Well, I come out early on a weekday morning so I could be out on this overlook where there wouldn't be anybody, right? And it's a chance of rain today, so I figured there wouldn't be anybody here, and there's only one other hiker in the parking lot. His car's there, so he's around somewhere, but he's not out here, so I wanted to come down here and do a video. I love this, and this is the first time I've ever used my gimbal down here. It's only the second time or third video I've produced with the gimbal, right? And but I'm going to show you, as you can see, everything around me is cliffs. I'm on an outcrop that comes out to this final point, which is this rock out here. And so if you look over this way, it's the same thing. So I don't have a whole lot of distance, and it's not so much that I'm worried about falling off, though that would be a terrible thing. The thing that really concerns me is that I don't have the money to buy this gimbal and all this equipment all over again. So if it goes tumbling off this cliff, and if it goes over, it's going down that cliff, right? So you know me, I'm always on an adventure. I'm just not used to adventuring with fancier equipment that I have to worry about things going wrong, right? And I'm using this cheap old aluminum stand, and right now there's no breeze, but if I get too far away from this thing for too long and a good wind comes along, and you know, nature does what it does. So it's really hard to say. I am going to take this hat off because it's just downright hot out here, friend. This is my rain hat, and I was expecting it might rain, and well, it'll cover my head, and I might end up covering my equipment with it instead of my head, right? So anyway, I'm going to try to go out here and see what happens from this view. Okay, it picked me up again. My microphone's turned on. On theory, it's working. If not, I'll be talking a lot for nothing, right? So anyway, as you can see, there's this big rock on the end of this outcrop that you have to kind of get up on. And I'll kind of come down so that you can see it. But it's not seeming to, oh, there we go. So I'm on this rock. I was once going to do a video out here sitting on it, but the problem is it was windy that day, and even when it's not windy, if that chair folds, I'm kind of done, so I decided not to do that. So anyway, it's beautiful out here, and that's the point. The point is that I don't have any points, so now I'll stand up and kind of give you a view. See down there, you can see that river goes down. That's the Susquehanna, and there's islands way out there. And then there would be a good view over here, but this tree fell, and now this tree's in the way. Otherwise, you could see up that river. Well, you know I'm always on here talking about Jesus, right? Let me get into a position here where I can talk without feeling like I'm going to fall. Okay, there we go. Because we've got, as you can see, there's just no real good spot to stand, so I got to be careful. But anyway, I just love the view, and I always like to give you guys a view when I'm out here doing my hiking, right? I mean, that's part of it. But really, I'm here to talk about Jesus, right? And I'll tell you, there's an example I had this morning on the way out here that made me think of how to start off this video, right? And that is, there was this deer that came out with its fawn, and it ran across the road. Now, if I was city folk and I'd never been to the country, well, then I wouldn't know that deer quite often travel in packs, and that a couple seconds or so after that, another one might appear in the road, right? And they don't stop and cross the road and look both ways. When they're on the run, they just run. And sure enough, a few seconds after that, I slowed down anticipating there might be another one. And here comes another fawn trucking out across the road. And if I wouldn't have slowed down, I'd have hit it. Because even when I slowed down, I had to hit the brakes anyway to keep from hitting it. Right? So, but It's not because I'm smart, because I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, right, friend? But it's not about knowledge as far as being brilliant. It's about the fact that I have the knowledge that they travel in packs, and quite often, if a deer crosses the road, others are going to follow. And therefore, it is logical for me to react according, like there's going to be another deer coming across the road that I'm not going to be expecting, and if I'm at a higher speed, I'm going to hit it, right? Because it's not going to stop. It's just going to do what it does. Well, that's kind of like what it's like to be a Christian and not know Jesus, right? It's like being a city dweller coming out and driving around in country roads not knowing what to expect. So that's the thing about Jesus, is he was telling you the truth. He is the truth and the life. And a lot of Christians don't understand that, right? They think that they can follow Paulianity, and that Paulianity is going to get them what it is they're looking for, and they're going to get this free kingdom in their death that they didn't seek in their life. And Jesus outright said that he was the vine and we were the branches, and the Father's the gardener, and at the end of the age, that those that have been fruitful, that he would prune us and make us even more fruitful. But then at the end of the age, he's going to take the dead limbs, which are the unfruitful limbs, gather them up and toss them into the furnace, right? Where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's the end of the age, right? So that doesn't mean that you say, I believe Jesus died on the cross for you. It's about being fruitful. Well, fruit is love. You know, abiding in the law, he said, he called the Pharisees sons of Satan for abiding in the law, right? He said you should have not only abided in the law, but rose in the spirit of it, which is the spirit of love. So yes, you are to do your works, but it's in the spirit of love. Now, in the beginning, you're not going to do it for the people that you don't know, that you don't love, because I used to hate a lot of people because a lot of people hated me, and I was one of those hurt people hurting people. But as I got to know Christ, I was trying to figure him out, and because I loved him, I started doing what he asked, and that is loving my neighbor as myself. So I was trying to help other people, and not because I wanted to help them, but because Christ told me to, and I was trying to figure that man out, to be quite honest with you, because I didn't understand a thing, and the church is full of hypocrisy and insanity, and I didn't understand a word of what they're saying. They're talking about God is love, and then he's going to condemn you forever and torture you. None of that made any sense to me, friend. It never did. Now I understand it, but I understand it in a different way than what the church does, because God had to hide things, right? Jesus said, I'm going to reveal secrets that have been hidden since the foundation of the world. So if you get to know that man inside out, upside down, and backwards, eventually you're going to become willing to die in order to live. And then you're going to offer up your life for his, and then he's going to give you something wonderful. And though it'll be something wonderful, the world won't love you for it. The world will hate you for it, right? Because you'll say the world's evil. Because I'm telling you the world's evil, because it's selfish. Selfishness is of evil. And therefore, a lot of the church is selfish, and therefore they are of evil. Now, there are people in the church that are not selfish, that are seeking the kingdom and bringing it to their neighbor. There's a lot of them, friend. I found them in the trenches. I gave up trying to find them in churches, but when I was out helping people doing what Christ said, well, I found them. They're in the soup kitchens, the homeless shelters, right? They're working in mental health. They're doing things to help people that need help. Those are the ones that are looking for the pearls that you've got if you're a Christian, right? Because if you're like hanging out with them rich folks, they don't want nothing. What did Jesus say to the apostles? He said, thank you, Father, for revealing the kingdom, things of the kingdom, people like babes, you know, that they were like little kids. They didn't know anything. But he said, but he hid it from the Pharisees, which are people of wisdom that think they know something. The problem is, if you got to know something, you're going to know nothing, because my Father knows everything, and he'll show you far more than you can even imagine if you're willing to do it. And I knew I was going to talk about today, because I kind of knew why I was coming out here once I heard this woman on video talking about Jesus. I'm not going to lie to you, friend. That woman, she's like a serpent. And I'm not going to give you her name because it doesn't matter. She's on social media. She gets a lot more views than me because she's telling you what you want to hear. You know, she puts out these beautiful little shorts where Christians get all warm and fuzzy and get to think that they're doing it right even though they're doing it wrong. I'm not going to lie to you, friend. I'm not talking about perfection. But Christ told you the truth, and she's calling him a liar. And then she's translating things like a serpent. So she was trying to justify violence and that you're not supposed to be passive. Well, let me teach you something. Passive doesn't mean not aggressive. Nonviolence means that you don't go around killing people and you know, you've got Jesus. He was not this passive dude, but he was a man of peace, right? He didn't go around killing people. He died. Now you take him, you take the apostles. He told you after John, you know, before John, the kingdom suffered violence, right? But after him, it's not going to. So if you want the kingdom, it's not about what it is, how you're going to save yourself. Because Jesus himself said, he who saves his life will lose it, but he who loses it for my sake will gain it. So this is the truth, or he's a liar. That's just a fact. So don't tell me you're Christian and then call Jesus a liar like this woman's doing. Because she was saying that he said, when it was turn the other cheek, she gave this little, drawn out like little spiel about how he didn't mean it because of things that he said. But that isn't what he was saying. He actually, and then she used the thing about the sword. Hey, how you doing? You can come on out. I'll shut the camera down.
Yeah, I'll come.
Well, friend, back at it. I was just talking to a gentleman, and it turns out he's hiked the AT and a lot of other stuff. He's from the Marine Corps like my son was, but he's more my age somewhere, I imagine. But anyway, so it was a great time. We were talking about, you know, him hiking the AT, and both of us have hiked a little bear country, though I never had any bear encounters. They did. They had them in their camps and stuff, and I've always been lucky enough that I never have seen them any closer than at a far distance. But anyway, what we were talking about was this woman was talking about what Jesus said and mistranslating it. But I want you to understand that Jesus told us that offenses must come, but woe to those who bring them. So it wasn't that the world's going to be nonviolent. That's not the facts. Martin Luther King Jr., you know, he was nonviolent, but in the end he perished by a gunshot, right? Because they killed him. But, you know, anybody that knows anything about America knows Martin Luther King Jr. and that he didn't believe in violence, but he was no coward either. He stood up and spoke the truth, and he lived the truth. So I have to speak against it when someone's speaking about that, because if you choose Christ over the world, then that doesn't mean that you have the right to go around and murder your neighbor. And here's the problem. And there's a lot of different things that she's saying that just wasn't right. One thing is she used Jesus said it's not time for peace but money, belt, and swords, right? But that was so that he could be listed with the transgressors as it was prophesied. The apostles, he told them, you know, about getting the swords. The apostles put 2 swords on a table. He said that was enough. Why was only 2 swords enough for 11 apostles? So they were 9-sword sword, right? Because, you know, it was really 12, but it was minus the 1 for perdition, you know, Judas. So what I'm getting at here, friend, is it was never about call to violence. It was about he needed a sword in Peter's hand so that he could cut off the ear of the servant of the high priest Malchus, which came, you know, to have him whipped, beaten, crucified. And so this is important to understand. And so there's 2 reasons for that. One was that from the cross, while he was being crucified, he said, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." So his last act of free will was to heal the man that came to whip, beat, and crucify him. Do you get that? That has nothing to do with him wanting you to go kill people. The other thing is, he also said, another person, God gave me that one directly through the Holy Spirit, but another man gave me this one that I was watching videos, and that is that because Peter cut off that man's ear, that would have been a capital punishment, right? They would have killed Peter for that. He'd have went to the cross with Christ. But because Jesus healed his ear, it healed his transgression. It gave him forgiveness, right? What was the guy going to do? Go tell the Pharisees, look, he cut my ear off, oh, never mind, it was a miracle, now it's back on. It would have completely blown the whole trial, right? So they couldn't, if they would have taken Peter in for what he did, they'd have actually been getting Jesus off the hook, and the Pharisees would not have been happy with them for doing it, right? So there's a whole lot more going on, and your job, if you're a Christian, is you are a Christian, right? That's what that stands for. It's not Paulianity. It's Christianity. So Christ is your king. He is the truth and the life. And Paul said what Jesus said. The problem is Christianity has twisted it up to make it fit their narrative. And that just doesn't work. And it shouldn't work for you if you want to get to know love by experience. Because that is the purpose of the world. And that is why it is God created everything. In the beginning there was only God. And because there was only God, well, he wanted children so that he could know his own love. Because imagine, because you know, creation is created, right? So there was no creation. None of this was here. There was only God. So you got to think of God as consciousness. He is the original consciousness of it all. And he created the world through Christ, through the Word. There's a lot there, friend. You need to get to understand. They tell you that Jesus is equal with God, and Jesus didn't say that. Jesus said the Father's greater than I. There's so much more than what the church is willing to tell you. But I can tell you this, that Christianity didn't start killing until Constantine molested the church. So it was at that point, and understand that the Catholic Church went and murdered off all the other sects of Christianity. So they weren't not only not loving those that didn't love them, they were out literally murdering off entire sects of Christianity. People either converted or they put them in the fire and burn them to death. There's records of people willingly walking into the fire, refusing to convert to insanity. So the one world order that you're looking for, there was already one, and that was called the Catholic Church. That's exactly what they were trying to do then, was bring one world order and bring everything under the Pope. And all the countries' kings answered to the Pope, Christianity, right? So it was all about control. So if you're trying to listen to Christianity instead of Christ, then you're going to listen to a bunch of people try to tell you how it is you need to live and what the right thing is. And they don't even know what the right thing is because they've been getting degrees from men that got degrees from men. They will tell you can go do anything you want and get away with it. And they are liars and they are thieves. That's a fact. This woman that was talking this trash online, I don't blame her. She doesn't understand because she doesn't think she has to know Jesus. So she thinks she can listen to a couple of people say things out of context that Jesus said and then say it and not think there's any accountability. But she won't enter the kingdom and she won't let you enter either if you're listening to her and buying into it. So I'm here to tell you the truth. You might kill me for it. I don't care because I've got eternal life. That's the whole point. The whole point is if you've got eternal life, then what are you worried about saving your life for? Because you can't live up to what Jesus was talking about. That doesn't mean that you want to die. I don't want to die, friend. I want to love my neighbor as myself. But if I'm going to be a follower of Christ, I have to know Christ inside out, upside down, and backwards. And then because I wanted the truth, he told me it was going to cost me my life, and he gave it to me. You know, I say all these things that are going to upset people. Like I was just talking to this gentleman that was, you know, from the Marine Corps, and he fought just like my stepson did, right? And I have no judgment for the man, right? But for me, as a follower of Christ, knowing what Christ said, I cannot go do that. I cannot go kill people because this is what happens, friend. Say I'm going to go get in a fight with an atheist or Muslim. And if your Christianity is accurate, which it's not, and hell is eternal, the question becomes, if I die, I'm going to receive a greater kingdom in my death, but if I kill you, you're going to go to eternal hell. Which one of us is better off dying? And if you're going to do that to one of my father's children that you could have converted to Christianity by being Christ-like, is there going to be a debt for that? Are you going to get to pay the debt that you caused them to pay? If you're not willing to ask these questions, you shouldn't say that you're Christian, and you shouldn't say you know Jesus, because you don't. You listen to these Pharisees that are like snakes. They wiggle half a tongue. They tell you lies. There's Christians all the time going out and doing things that they're not allowed because they don't know any better, because They're like city dwellers that come out into the country, right? They don't know there's another deer coming. They're not, I'm not saying they're stupid. They're unknowledgeable in truth. Christ is the truth. I don't care what you tell me about Moses and Joshua and Noah. They aren't the new covenant. Christ himself is the new covenant. And if you don't get to know him, well, then you're not going to enter his kingdom, because he told you exactly what you have to do. You have to rise in the spirit of love, which is the spirit of truth, because truth is love and love is truth. He said that he wants you to worship God in spirit and in truth. Well, that is to adore God in thought and love. So he wants love. So I can't love you and then kill you, saying that I'm saving myself, sending you to hell for eternity. That makes zero sense. And so I'm not here trying to ever talk. And because I tell the truth and talk about a truth that people don't want to hear, nobody wants to, I don't have a big following. Why would they want to follow me? They don't even want to follow Christ. Most Christians hate Christ, and because they hate Christ, they hate me. They love the world. They don't love Christ. They don't know Christ. They know the Pharisees. They got degrees from men. They got degrees from men. They don't put any logic to their religion. They're following this insanity. I'm going to tell you one reason why they're trying to figure out how to do that here at the end of the age. There's a divide coming in this country. If you can't see it, I don't know why. The corporations are trying to get rid of religion, and the Christians are thinking about fighting. You can see it coming, friend. It doesn't take a rocket scientist. All you have to do is look, and the truth will become apparent to you. But most people aren't looking because they don't know any better. Understand that Jesus said that it is okay to be, it's better to be, somebody's going crazy over here. He said to be as wise as serpents and innocent as doves. So we're supposed to be innocent as doves, but that does not mean we're not wise to what's going on around us. And so many Christians think that that's not the truth, and that is the truth. So we have to be wise about what we do and how we do it. So the purpose of the world is to come to know love by experience. That is what Christ asks of us. And we make others want to convert to Christianity by being Christ-like. Christ never killed anybody. He forgave everybody their debt. So any Christian that's telling you anything else, they're a liar. They're lying because they're not telling you the truth that Christ told you. You'll find none of the apostles, not Paul, none of them went and killed people. All of them died willingly. I'm not saying that you want to. I don't want to any more than you do. But I can't say I'm Christian and then say I'm going to do what Christ said I can't. So either he is the new covenant and he's my king and I abide in kingdom rules, or I accept that I am not for him and therefore he is not for me. And at the end of the age, he's going to say, I don't know you. I was hungry, you didn't feed me. I was naked, you didn't clothe me. I was sick and in prison and you didn't visit me. Right? That's what he was talking about, the spirit of love. You don't convert people by judging them. You convert them by loving them no matter what. Right? So, people are trying to figure out how to be in the world end of it and still be Christian. You can't. Not in the way that this Christianity has turned it into. It's hypocrisy. It's insanity. And I'm outright calling it so. I'm telling you that most of your preachers are like a bunch of snakes. They're wiggling half a tongue. They're like serpents. They won't tell you the whole truth of what Christ said. They won't put the whole message together. They take everything and turn it into the wrong thing and take it out of context so that they can justify insanity. If you want to be selfish, you don't want to know Christ. Christ is about love. Selfishness seeks to keep it for itself. Love seeks to give to another what it would seek for itself. So if you want to be like him, you have to become in the spirit of love. That doesn't mean you're going to be perfect. It was never about perfection. It's about rising in the spirit of love. And he told you that this kingdom would start off like a mustard seed, which is the tiniest of all seeds. And then as you grow in him by doing the things he asked, that your kingdom would turn into a mustard tree, which is turning you into a mustard tree, because you would get big enough to give shade and rest to the birds. Well, it's a parable. He's talking about shade and rest to your neighbor. You can't give them shade and rest if you're killing them. That's just a fact, right? So religion doesn't make any sense. Christ was logical if you're looking to receive the kingdom and have a greater kingdom right here, right now. Because he did tell you that the kingdom would not be said to be here, there, but the kingdom of God is within you. So if I abide in him, then he abides in me. Instead of me speaking to you, he speaks to you for me because I'm in him and he's in me. And he told me that if he came and made his home in me, the Father would make his home in me also. So I am one, but I am also three because the three abide in me, right? That doesn't mean I'm perfect. It means that I'm doing the best I can and trying to come. And he told me that if when I do these videos that he will give me the courage to say the things that I don't have the courage to say, friend. I've been a coward from the beginning. I was a person who used to get high, get drunk, and hurt people. I'm not a good guy. I never have been. It's Christ in me that has turned me into a better person, that wants to seek to know love by experience and to give to my neighbor what it is I seek from myself, because I was a hurt person hurting people, and I was a person that was hurt by hurt people. And that insanity never ends until somebody starts giving forgiveness. Christ taught me how to do it. And if you want to know how to do it, he'll teach you. Get to know him. All right? Well, just know I love you because my Father loves you, and may God bless you and yours.